Kev had used drift to try to drift himself into a car so he could use it basically as a barricade or a shelter or bunker or whatever. So as an automated car is coming by through the mist, he launches himself towards it, elbow first, so he can crash through the windshield and get in and hopefully have it take the shots for him. The result is that he has to invoke. He rolled a 7 on his roll against a 14. So he's going to invoke his dogmatic and angry trouble. In this case, because he's angry, just he is. You could also say he's going to invoke that he's disappointed in you. Either one is fine. He's disappointed in you. You could invoke that the automated cards are what gives him the advantage in this case. So any of those things is fine. In fact, we're just going to go with automated cards. It makes the most sense. It's using this scene aspect, automated cards. He invokes that, gets a +2. So now he's working with a 9. And that lets him only take 5 shifts of damage. And I say only because he has a 5 shift box, which means he's very tough. So some of the shots kind of like burn him. They put pressure on him physically. They don't actually injure him though. And the car does end up taking most of the shots as the homing laser beams kind of all come in and begin to perforate this vehicle. Katie has a turn now, and she is going to, seeing that her sister is going crazy, and knowing that she's in a bad position because her father has a clear shot on her still next round, she is going to try and she is going to use her gambling compulsion to angle her body. This is a self-compel. So she's going to angle her body in a way where she's running a game here. If she can use her next turn to kind of negate or get over the passive difficulty, we'll say a 5 of the car that has her pinned, she will be able to angle herself in such a way that instead of the damage ricocheting and hitting her off of Alkesha's drunken laser barrage, it will actually free her from this vehicle and allow her to negate having advantage on her by Kev. So it's an all or nothing gamble, and she's rolling it. If she fails in her ability to use Gambler to get out of this, she is going to take double shifts of damage, basically be KO'd by Kev's next attack. So this is a compulsion, a compel based on her trouble that gives her 1 fate point back. She has a +1. Oh, she has a +2 to this because she's technically using her gambler to alter someone's miss or hit rate. So she is doing this basically with a +4, and she needs to meet a +5. Let's see if she can do it. So she can meet this with her +2 from hot and cold, and her +2 from her fate point that she just spent as she compels her. She invokes Fortune Teller to know that her sister was going to go crazy with alcohol and laser guns, to know that her father was going to try and use like a non-lethal means to pin her and then probably KO her, and to know that these two things were going to like come to a very violent head. She uses her ability to kind of predict into the future and know that if she angles her body in a certain way, the ricochet bolts, which would have normally probably gone through different parts of her body, instead pierce around her, freeing up the metal, or like removing the metal, like breaking pieces off from the car, the side of the car door, that allows her to kind of dive in at the moment that Kev takes his attack, meaning he no longer has advantage and can't make use of Deadeye on her. He does go for an attack. He basically punches through the roof of the car that he's in and tries to use like just a driving drift force, basically space cannon towards where Katie is, just a push of telekinetic force. With a 7, she tries to dive into the vehicle and then come out the other side, opening the door in this laser riddled vehicle that she's trapped behind. She can't quite make it. We'll see how she does. Like, she gets hit with 6 physical stress. That's a lot for her. So as she's opening the door to say haha, and then she just gets hit with this blast, knocking her back into the wall, kind of crumpling her very badly. She takes 2 physical stress and a moderate damage. She is going to be extremely dazed. So now she's extremely dazed. On her next roll, she has her moderate consequence box marked off, and she's taken 2 physical stress. Next round begins. Alkesha is going to, now she has still the rolling bonuses that Katie provides, use one of them to try to use. No, she's going to use both of them to try to land Work It on Kev. So with a 5, actually she may not need to. Let's see how Kev rolls against this. He is going to try to use Pursue. Okay, so she only needs to invoke once as Kev is coming towards her, as she is trying to apparently like tag him with something. It looks like for a second that he's going to grab her now that he's free of the vehicle, but she manages to duck and weave around him, invoking that old men must die. This old lame guy is going to meet the party bus monkey. So she's going to, let's see. Actually, I'm going to invoke both of Katie's +2 bonuses that she provides from her stunt. And I'm also going to invoke her other 2 fate points. So that's a 9 and then a 13. And then let's see, what else does she have that she can use against this? No, that's about it right now. 9 and a 13. She's not using Ricochet. So she has a 13 to this roll. She's used all her fate points. Kev is now defending with a 6, so that means that there are 7 shifts waiting for him, unbeknownst to him. He doesn't know that he's been tagged. He just knows that he is apparently can't catch his daughter. She's too quick. She makes a Nana Boo Boo face and blows raspberries at him as a way to also distract him so that Katie can try to get herself together and go back to creating advantages. Katie is going to again try to use Gambler to create an advantage against Kev. So let's see if she can do it. She's going to, now knowing that making advantages against his trajectory, his aim, his miss or hit rate, his accuracy is probably the best way to do this. She is going to figure out a way to give Alkesha basically a little damage bonus. Let's see if she can do it. 2 + 2. She can't calculate it fast enough. She was too winded, too damaged, too frazzled from the hit. It's now Kev's turn. In the first round, the party monk bus monkey incoming Doom is now counting down 2 more rounds and it'll hit him. He rolls his neck, lets his daughters know that there's still time for them to walk away and that they should probably stop resisting. Once they say hell no, screw you, he invokes Lockdown, his once per session gravity stunt that completely freezes the moving automated vehicles in the environment, as well as the girls, and even the particles in the air are no longer like drifting around. This is just a lockdown of space. So at this point, they are basically frozen for the duration of 30 seconds. Alkesha is going to try and roll Ricochet to get a shot off. She managed to succeed. While she's like frozen, she manages to angle her gun just slightly, enough to like fire off a round and aim it at Kev. It comes in with a +2. Let's see how he does. So he can't make it past that. He takes a 4 shift of damage as he tries to again rush towards his frozen daughter to try and grab her. Instead, he's met with a rather strong ricocheted laser blast that kind of pings him in the shoulder and causes him to halt in his progress. Katie is going to take her turn, again trying to make some kind of advantage. She still, I'm going to say with that one she can. Passive difficulty on that is 3, so she's able to inform her sister of like where a good shot to land would be in Kev's blind spot, as well as basically in a way to disable him so that he can't aim so properly. This basically creates an advantage for defensive measures or counter fire, cover fire, in case Kev attacks again, which he most certainly will, because it's the next round. Now we're starting round 2. Kev is going to use drift just basically towards Katie. He sees that Katie is already kind of beat up, and taking her out means taking out like a big advantage for Alkesha. So with a 4, he has an incoming drift attack towards her. It's just a straight up attack. We'll see if she is able to use her gambling. She cannot use her gambling ability to get out of this one. And he's going to invoke her extremely dazed consequence that she has, so a moderate consequence, turning that 5 into a 7. At this point, she has to mark off her 1 physical box, and she takes a severe consequence, which is, we'll say, thoroughly rattled. Because Kev isn't trying to kill them, he's just trying to KO them. So she is now like on the rope. She has 1 consequence box left and no stress boxes, physically anyway. Alkesha is going to see that her sister's in trouble and do the only thing that she really can do. She's going to try to create a laser curtain between herself and Kevan so that it would fuck with his field of vision and also create an advantage. So she is going to... Jesus Christ. Well, that's fine. You know what she's going to do is she's going to again invoke her prone to rash decisions and fire it in a way that's basically above her head. So what this is going to do is if she's going to get a fate point back to re-roll this, it has a chance to basically shoot down at her as a result. So she's invoking her trouble, she's getting a fate point back, and she's doing something that complicates the situation. She knows that she can take the damage, but she knows her sister can't. With a 6, then she has now a chance to avoid getting hit herself. Let's see how she does. The 4. So she takes 2 stress from this maneuver, because as she's firing up, she's doing it wildly to try to fuck with his vision using the information that Katie's given her. But she's also, she's kind of forced to do it in a way, plus she's drunk, that also like damages her slightly as it happens. So she's still good enough. She only has a 2 stress box. It was worth it for the maneuver. Katie, being extremely dazed and thoroughly rattled, is going to have a lot of trouble on this. So she is going to compel herself again on her gambling compulsion to tell Alkesha that basically the method to get a one-hit KO at the risk of her being KO'd, Alkesha being KO'd. So she's going to let her know that, okay, with a 0, she can't really do much. Further consequence is going to be, if she wants to succeed on this, she can, but she has to take a further consequence. And that further consequence is going to be, as she's trying to like crunch the numbers and give the information quite desperately to her sister, she has to like really concentrate her mental power, and that means losing the ability to stay up. So she compels herself on her gambling, betting on her sister's abilities, that even if she passes out, her sister is going to succeed. She gives her the double advantage that she normally gives, so +2/+2, but it happens at the cost of her being able to stay into the fight. Katie, from crunching the numbers, and she got like blood trickling down from her head, like dramatically or whatever, just like says, you know, I've got it, here's the formula, and then passes out entirely. The fight is now entirely in the fight is basically in Alkesha's hands, and Alkesha, having that advantage, is now facing down her dad for what may be the final round of combat. We come to what is basically round 3 of this fight, and as Alkesha is kind of now slightly burned from her own laser maneuver and has this laser curtain bouncing between her and Kevan, she realizes that her sister had maybe banked on all of this happening. The way that the curtain was placed, the fact that they've been fighting in this kind of like area, the fact that she was totally comfortable with Alkesha using laser guns while drunk, and the fact that Alkesha is known to be able to tag people for the party bus, means that Katie could have predicted all of this all along, and we'll see how it goes. Because as the round starts, Alkesha is going to use her points, or her advantage here, to fire off a ricocheted shot at Kevan. So she has a +2 to it because of the advantage that Katie allowed earlier. So Kevan has a 7, or he has a 7 to contend with. He's going to use, because this one's not a homing shot, he's going to use drift to try to avoid it. He can't quite, so he's going to invoke once. He's going to invoke that he is a war veteran and that he gets another shot at drift. He does manage to do it on that point, taking only 1 shift of damage from that. But as he's dodging out of the way, using drift to kind of move back and forth through this parking lot, he stops near a wall and realizes that he's at a weird angle between the wall and the laser curtain that Alkesha had created, and then hears what he thinks is a honking sound as a massive party bus crashes through the wall and just barrels right towards him. So at that point, he has to roll against a, let's see, what was it? It was a 5, a 13, so it's a 7, I believe, plus a 2, so a 9. The party bus is coming in with a passive opposition of 9. That means that it doesn't have to roll, it's just coming in with a 9. Because these are the amount of shifts that Alkesha succeeded on her work it roll against Kevan by using invokes and various bonuses that Katie gave her. That means that in 3 rounds, the party bus comes through, and it comes through with a 2 plus whatever that number was. So because she succeeded with 7 in her work it over the 6 of Kev's defensive roll, that means this party bus comes in with, you know, the 7 and then +2, so 9. That's how that math breaks down. The party bus comes in with a 9. He is going to try to use drift to push it away. He can't. At this point, he's going to invoke his own stunt of, well, boy, he's going to invoke his own war veteran, I guess, again. Or he's going to invoke, let's see, he's disappointed in you. No, he's going to invoke Learn Today. because a bus isn't going to stop him. So he's going to actually take the risky maneuver for the sake of drama of re-rolling, and he does. In this case, that means he only takes a 1 shift of damage, but it doesn't matter because he hasn't taken any consequences yet. So the bus comes towards him and begins to drive him towards like the wall, but it only puts him sort of off his game. It doesn't really cause him any sort of serious injury. Alkesha, seemingly confident in what she's done and thinking that her dad has been defeated, kind of like sighs in relief. And that sigh quickly turns to a look of terror as she sees the party bus begin to creak and get pushed off to the side. Kevan putting one hand, buffer hand of force to move it aside and stare her down from across the room. Using his distance calculation, range is not an issue. He's going to deliver a very hard drift blow to her, and he's going to use long arm of the law if he does hit her. With a 6, he is able to probably to strike her with this. Let's see. No, Jesus Christ. You know what? He's going to actually invoke and get over on her on this. So she looks like she's about to out-muscle him and like, you know, kind of like out-tough him. And he's seen that look before. That stance is familiar to him. So he's going to invoke that he's, you're going to learn today. He will not be shown up by the youth. Just because you're a young scrub, young pup, that's going to try to come up and show him that he's old and useless and should be put on an ice floe and sent out onto the river. He's not going to allow that to happen. Instead, he's going to further angle and like strengthen his drift force to punch through kind of like her defensive stance and then pull her closer, giving him an advantage on his next attack against her, a +1 advantage. She is going to try to resist that. So with a 2, she can't even move technically on her own because of the lockdown measure that was taken. So she's still like technically like locked down. It's only she can be moved when he moves, or when he moves her with drift, but otherwise she's kind of locked down. In which case, yeah, that 2 is not going to really help her that much, and she's going to be basically dragged forcefully because she tried to resist. So she takes 2 shifts of damage on top of the 1 shift that she took earlier, putting it at a total of 3. Under normal circumstances, this would likely be something where I would mark, like I would roll I'm going to roll it like that. I'm going to give her 1 shift first because she took 1 shift. And then I'm going to give her a mild consequence, which is road rash. So she, because the damage is technically applied afterwards because it depends on her action. So instead of compounding those into you take 3 shifts, it's you take 1 and then you take 2. So she takes 2 shifts of damage afterwards that she basically gets dragged along, and that's no fun. As she's getting dragged along, she's going to try to angle her gun up to just fire at her dad, just straight up attack. She no longer gets the bonus from Katie's KO, though she does still have a lingering advantage, like basically 1 round of it from when Katie was using Gambler to give her advantage. So she has an 8 on this roll. So as she's getting dragged, she manages to bank a few shots off of cars to try and hit Kev. Let's see how he does. It's met with equal force. He manages to use his drift to pull objects towards himself as he's dragging her. So with his free hand, he just starts pulling car doors towards himself to bank the shots, like stop the shots, bank them away from himself. Without Katie's homing ability, like that is something he can do. He can use his drift when she's not up because they're no longer homing shots. And he's still dragging her towards him. He is going to use drift again against her to strike her while she is being dragged. So he gets a +1 to this as he's pulling her towards an area he designates. With a 10, that's pretty much game over. She marks off a 4 box, and she is going to have completely rocked as a severe consequence. She has a 3 stress box left and a moderate consequence box left, but in terms of the fight here, it's very, 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 it's looking very rough for her. He still has 1. Actually, he has no fate points left. He has 0 fate points. So he has no fate points left. She has no fate points left. He hasn't taken any consequences yet. So it's Alkesha's turn. She's looking pretty rough. She's going to self-compel that she's prone to rash decisions and overload her left gun, meaning that what she's trying to do here is land a shot that does double shifts of damage, double shifts if it lands, but will in fact explode regardless of whether it lands. So she's overloading her left gun. Let's see if she can manage it. So with a 5, Kev is going to use drift again. 6. She manages to fire off a rather large shot that Kev just drifts himself sideways away from. And her gun begins to glow violently and then erupt and explode in her hand, meaning she no longer has access to her left gun function extra out alive. So she can't cut off anyone's method of escape. But it doesn't matter because she couldn't land the hit. It also means that I'm going to say, just for the sake of having a gun explode in your hands, I'm just going to fill out her 3 shift of damage. So now she only has a moderate consequence left. That was her gamble. She wasn't lucky enough without her sister there. Kev is going to, instead of trying to further beat his daughter up, detain her. So let's see how that goes. 5. Once she's dragged in close enough, he's going to just try to grab her up in a full bear hug. Can she get out of that? She can't. This is Katie. This is Alkesha having to concede. Kev is super strong. He's just bear hugging her and whipping her around like a rag doll until she finally concedes. Luckily, she's facing away from him when she does this, because as she concedes, she's also too drunk, and being whipped around in a bear hug causes her to spontaneously vomit, very violently projectile vomit. Kev tries to aim her away from other people's cars, but eventually, once she's done, he just gently puts her down and goes to check on Katie, who has been pretty thoroughly KO'd. The Kevan sisters have not been able to succeed over their father, but maybe next time they'll have better luck. There were quite a few situations where they definitely could have done a lot more damage to him, but Kev is a very strong contender. And even in a 2-on-1 fight against like 2 very, very technically powerful opponents together, they're very powerful. He was able to succeed. So that was the fight. Quick breakdown of things that could have been invoked. More of the smoky environment, I think. Probably more about drunkenness, but I decided Kesha was probably the drunker of the two. You'll notice that a lot of times during this fight, characters were doing things that were risky maneuvers that were usually compulsion of their trouble, that made complications that usually resulted in mechanical issues. That is something we don't usually do, but it's definitely something that you can do. It's something I know Nia has probably done like once or twice. If you ever want to try to make a situation more dangerous for yourself, but at the same time do more damage to your opponent, that is sort of the middle ground that I have between just regular old JoJo Fate rules and there is a gambling or gambit rule section that you'll see in that PDF. I didn't really want to use that so much because I feel like it would be disappointing if you failed on it, but this is kind of that middle ground. You can do something very dumb and dangerous and risky, but if you pull it off, you may get like great rewards. But you also might injure yourself regardless, or disable yourself temporarily. Like Kesha's gun blew up, she shot herself accidentally, she's ricocheting bullets around, that sort of thing. It can make fights more interesting. But that is it for this showcase. Hopefully you guys feel like you got some ideas of how to run in a fight, how to run a fight in general, combat. And yeah, I will see you during the game, I guess. I'm going to include a to be continued screen, don't worry. The scene opens, Kev addressing his daughters who are now patched up. No, what are you even attacking me for? I didn't do anything. Alkesha, still drunk, still beat up, having vomited. She's cleaning her face off. You're corrupt and you gotta pay, Dad. So I'm gonna shoot you with my laser guns. Pow pow, zap zap, bitch. Katie, recovering, is still woozy, apparently trying to figure out her chances of being able to stay on her feet. The family just kind of argues amongst one another. Kev finally says, "All right, you're both grounded." What the hell was that? As they are talking, they are interrupted as a figure walks out, and there's the sound of a beep beep as someone is activating a car alarm. The car in question that is alarmed is currently on fire and destroyed. Ooh, what the hell's going on here? My beautiful car. What did you do, you animals? I can't believe this. I'm still making down payments on that. Who's laughing? And then another figure walks out, holding a box of donuts and a cup of coffee. What seems to be the problem over? Oh, that's messy. Hey, did y'all blow up the president's car? Alkesha kind of like shakes her head. No, it wasn't me. And then she hides her remaining gun. Kev holds up a finger. Oh, hold on, President of Earth and his weird ghoulish sidekick. Surely we can work out an arrangement here. I'm sure that car wasn't worth much. I mean, it's just Earth crap, right? I got probably a pocket change. I can pay that off. Bloody Valentine throws down his sandwich, his ham sandwich that he was eating. I don't think so, pal. You're all gonna pay with blood. I'm gonna beat you up right now. And the fight quickly begins between two sides: Halloween Jack, Bloody Valentine versus the Kevan family. When we do part 2 of this showcase, and that is where this session was. Thanks for watching. See you next time. All right, that's it.